Hello all. This is, think of it as class for our Wakefield project for the architectural classroom. I wish I could be doing this with you in person, but I want to go over this. So there is an assignment in classroom that not many, maybe half of you have done, and I wanted to make sure you all know that this was due. There's the due date. Due tomorrow, which today is Monday, the 13th, so tomorrow is the 14th. So this was supposed to be done. What you were supposed to start with was creating a bubble diagram of this Wakefield house based on the requirements that when I went over in the last video. A bubble diagram just gives you a very, very rough drawing of where things will be. Now, the one thing you're going to want to keep in mind is where is north on the Wakefield project. North is facing up. The driveway is in the top left corner with north up, so that would mean you'd want your garage somewhere in the front of the house. The sun's rotating from the right to the left, so you'll want your rooms. You want to consider your sun entry points for those rooms with keeping in mind the requirements. Now, I want to show you an example of a student work that was turned in. So this is one. Now, this is not perfect, but I like at least the attempt at drawing with straight lines and so on. So a couple things. One, this isn't even pointing to me where north is. Here's the main entry, so I'm going to assume the north is facing to the right on this drawing. That's something you're going to want to think about, though, because in this project it is very important to consider where north is relative to the street access. So what I'd like you to do is, assuming you've already done this assignment, which I assigned prior to this, I'm going to pull up this new requirement, which is, so this is basically, I created a requirements list and put in this Google Doc all of the, let's say the things I want you to pay attention to regarding the requirements. So what I'd like you to do is after you've done this drawing, or maybe while you're doing this drawing, if you haven't already done so, I want you to look through all of these requirements and make sure you have considered it. So the first thing that you can see for this student's drawing is that there is no garage, so that we can just, none of this is true. But maybe if this is north, we could skip the deck on this side because it would make sense to have the deck be on the sunny side of the house, which would be back here, and replace some space in here with the garage. Now, I know it's hard for you to know on paper how big something is. So 500 to 700 square foot garage. You may not even know how big a garage should be in terms of space. So don't be afraid to Google things. I Googled a 2-car garage, and look, it's supposed to be somewhere around 24 foot long if you want a workbench, 24.5 foot wide if you want some storage on both sides for a 2-car single door garage. Now you can change that as needed. It definitely said ample storage space, but these are just getting you some rough numbers. Okay, going back to requirements, the kitchen. We need island seating for 6 guests. I don't see any island seating here. Table seating for 4 to 6 guests. I don't see a table. There isn't, you'll say, Miss G, there's a table here. Well, in the dining room, there was supposed to also be seating for 8 guests with direct access to the kitchen. If you choose to make an open floor plan, that might be a little odd since they want a table and a dining room. So I think what this customer wants is a formal dining room where it's not open floor plan in connection with the kitchen. Now, it's fine to have open floor plan between the kitchen and, say, the family room, but I think it's safe to assume that since the dining room is listed with a separate table from that in the kitchen, that you need to have some form of a separate room that is the dining room. All right, so you just need to go through all of these things and make sure that you have all of these requirements met. I would say for now, let's focus on the first floor. You can read through all these: family and living room, fireplace, yard access with lots of light coming in. So that would indicate to me that the family room should be maybe on the southeast side of the house, with some maybe big doors leading out to the backyard, maybe a deck back there, but these are details for you to decide. What I wanted to show you is some design tools. So I know you don't have Revit at home right now. If you do, great. You don't really need to watch this part, or maybe you should just to learn some design techniques. But if you don't have Revit at home, which is probably the majority of you, you're going to want to go to Home Styler. I think I've already shown you this, but let me do that again. So I'm going to maximize this. So you're going to need to sign in. Sign in with your school's account, and you can say start designing. And I'm just going to create new design. So think of this as Revit, but it's not so much focused on the entire building so much as just the floor plan and the interior look of the house. So what I suggest is come up here, just like in Revit. Remember we had the location lines, whether it was center, edge. I'm just going to pick one of those, zoom out a little bit. This is your basically point of reference that shows you the 3D view. So wherever this person's facing, it's going to show you that view. It'll make a lot more sense once you actually have some walls drawn. So I'm going to draw some walls. Let me go back. Sorry, let me get back to that table that I had. The entire first floor should be, other first floor details right here, between 650 and 975 square feet. So you should draw something that is going to get you to be roughly that. Now I'm assuming you already have a shape in mind because you've done your hand sketch. So I'm just going to draw 4 walls just to show you some tips and techniques using Home Styler, which is this new software I'm showing you. All right, so you're going to want to select your 4 walls if these are your exterior walls or however many you have. I meant to change this to a thicker wall just to more easily differentiate between interior and exterior walls. Also, keep in mind you have to do feet and inches symbols on this program. So the feet obviously is a single, and the inches is the double quotation marks. Okay, now the challenge with this program is trying to create a 2-story house rather than just a 1-story. It's a little bit of, let's just say it's not set up perfectly for that, but what you can do is say, select these exterior walls and click on partial, and it actually changes the height. I don't know if you noticed, it was set to 9'2". You want to say partial, but now you'll want twice 9'2", so that'll be 18 feet 4 inches, or whatever height walls you want if you were looking for taller ceilings. And now the other thing you're going to want to look at is this is my complete interior space if I'm having the 4 straight walls. If you had other walls, it'll still give you the entire square footage. And if you look, this is over the 975 square foot limit. So this already is a good indication that your house is too big. So, I'm just going to drag this wall a little bit. You can drag it. It's lagging for me right now. There, I just dragged it. Or you can type in the exact number if you want by selecting that box up there. All right. Now this does not include the garage space, so I'm going to draw another wall. Let's make this 8 inches, and that'll be the garage. And so I'm just trying to show you how to get a feeling for how big to make the designs. And now this is pretty much the whole front of our house, since we said the garage is going to be 24 by 24. So maybe rather than going this way, you'll want to go this way off the house. This is where you may want to be designing in conjunction with Home Styler because it lets you see sizes exactly. But now that I think about this, the problem with doing your garage this way is it's going to take away the sunlight from east facing sunlight for your entire house. So I actually would recommend going back to what you had and drawing this. Maybe I could make this wider and shorter. However you end up wanting to do that, I'm going to leave that up to you. I think as I showed you before, you can click here and change these names somewhere. garage should be listed. There it is. 573, so you may want to look at your chart here that I gave you. And the garage should be between 500 and 700, so we're doing well for that. The only thing I don't like is that there's only this little area for my front door. So I would change that if I were you. Next, you'd want to put in whatever interior walls you may want. You can change this to 5-inch thickness. It doesn't take a 1/2 inch. I know in Revit we normally did 4.5-inch walls. But so one of the requirements is a mudroom. Well, a front door with a nice entryway and then a mudroom from the garage. So maybe our entry from the garage will be over on this side, and this little area here would be our mudroom, and so on. So that's how you do this. As you go, you can add doors and windows. I can link to Classroom more specific videos for how to add doors and windows, but you can just click through these and select doors. It's pretty straightforward. Scroll down, pick a door you might like. Not necessarily advocating for any of these, but let's just pick one here. And you'll probably see, yeah, this is not even big enough to fit a front door. So it's not letting. There, it actually did let me, but obviously that wouldn't look so good. The way you use this little guy is now you can rotate this around and see. Oh, I put my door in backwards. So you can flip it by clicking on this. And that's how you use the doors and windows. I would like to see this design finished by the time the next assignment is posted. I will add more. Actually, let me show you this right now. If I go to 3D view, this makes it so that I'm looking at what the man is seeing over here, much larger. All right. You can toggle over here, click that back. I'm going to move this wall just because it's really bothering me that door is so crammed in there. And you can use arrow keys to nudge your door along. I still don't recommend having a tiny door squeezed in there like that. You can also see in this 3D view that you're seeing this wall intersecting there. But so if you want to change back to the 3D view, you can click this. So this is basically how you get the interior views. You could also move this view around and come out to the outside world. But I'd really recommend if you want to see an exterior view, you can come here to this drop down and say 3D view. Now, I figured our garage would only be one single story, but if you wanted to be 2 stories, that's a design choice. You would then raise these walls up and so on. To get the second floor, well, you know what? Let me put that in a different video. That'll be one to come. Make sure you save this. It does not save automatically. It's not like Google Docs, so save this. We'll call it Wakefield 2. And that's it. Please make sure you are going through this checklist and make sure your design is following these requirements.